Hello, everybody. This is Thomas Anderson, and I'm sitting here with
Matthew Anderson.
And we are cutting this new intro. The show you're about to hear, and there's nothing new except for this on the first 6-7 episodes of this show. We had originally called this Please Only One Lie at a Time, and that's what it's referred to as throughout the first series of episodes. We had recorded that when we had other goals for the show. We were going to do one shitbag book a season, but life got in the way of recording a lot of stuff, and I had time to reflect. And so we have changed the name of this to Gish Gallop Girl, which is what it's been posted as. And you may have been referred here by someone who, likes you or hates you. I don't know. Your life is your life, man. I'm not going to step into it. This is the new intro that's going to be running in the front of all those old shows. You will know that you're in newer material when you hear us introduce the newer episodes as Gish Gallop Girl. And that is all kind of explained and handled in what I believe is episode 8. Right now, I could be totally wrong on that, but I believe it's episode 8 that I'm about to post, where we explain the name change and we go through what the new goals of the show are, the new website, and all that good shit. So, at any rate, this is just running for this. We just wanted to say hi, and we will do our damnedest to have a new episode every single week. That's all I got.
And also to try weird, nasty sodas every week as well.
Yep, we're gonna, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, everybody, have a great night. Okay, and welcome to Please Only One Lie at a Time. This is a podcast whereby I read books that I absolutely despise, and I talk with my son about all of them. My name is Thomas Anderson. He's coming up with one. It's fine. These are not our real names. I defy you to Google them. At any rate, the focus of this podcast is going to be going after liars in print. I had originally wanted to do a podcast where I did something like Knowledge Fighter, like Tuckered Out does, whereby I would subject myself to watching Candace Owens' show or listening to her podcast and just debunking the lies. Here's the problem with that. For one thing, Mrs. Owens, she is married now, although she didn't marry a guy with the name Owens. More on that another time. But she does have a regular daily show on Ben Shapiro's network. The name of that escapes me right now. But her show on there is behind a paywall. And I was like, well, that could come up with some copyright stuff, and these people are litigious as hell. They scream all day about free speech, but then God forbid you actually, go after them for anything. If there's one thing positive that I can say about Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson regarding Knowledge Fight and Tuckered Out, if they know about those shows, and the odds are they very well do, they don't go after the people that run them. I mean, Tucker's a millionaire born into money, and Alex Jones is a blowhard who actually believes he's right all the time. But Candace is a different creature. We'll talk more about her as we go through this book, but what I found really egregious about people on both sides of the political spectrum, but especially right-wingers, Republicans and stuff, and there is room here for some left-wing finger-wagging as well, such as Bill Maher, Jon Stewart, and so on. But what I find most egregious is when someone lies to me in print, because if you're lying off the top of your head and you're making shit up, all right, I can kind of I can understand. You gotta. I will give them the space of saying things such as they have a daily program, a lot of people depend on them. I will give them a lot of things. I'll even allow them to call themselves entertainment, because even Nazis need entertainment, I guess. But it's okay. You can laugh out loud. But even Nazis need entertainment. But the thing is, when you put something in print, it should be truthful. It should be backed up by sources, and those sources should be infallible. What we find with someone like Candace Owens or the person we're going to talk about today actually is Larry Elder. He wrote the book for her, or he didn't write the book. I'm sorry. See, I'm wrong. See, that's how you can screw things up in person. He wrote the foreword to her book, which came out in 2020. It was called Blackout. Now, Blackout is Candace's first book. It is semi-autobiographical, I think. She does talk about her life quite a bit. I read through this once, and I hated every damn page. And so, yes, I'm here to subject my son, who will be 18 by the time these episodes come out, so don't come after me for child abuse. But, you know, I wanted to do a project with him for a while, and he had questions about fascism and how that shit starts and everything. And I was like, well, you know, I gave him some books, and I don't know, have you bothered to read any of them?
I have not gotten around to that, no.
Fair. Your honesty is welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, the books are a bit dense. I would rather read Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein's books on the universe.
At least then you'd actually learn something.
Yeah.
Worthwhile.
Yeah, Hawking's great. Einstein is incredibly dense. His book, A Stubbornly Persistent Illusion, is in the library. Oh my God. Hawking writes the foreword for that book, and it's easily the most easy to understand thing in there. But what we're going to do on this show is we're going to take one lie at a time, hence the title, Please Only One Lie at a Time, or later on when we want to acronym that stuff, Pool Time, with ATA, you know, between parentheses, you know, please only one lie at a time. Pool time. See? See? That's how my brain works. I'm always in marketing mode. I can't switch it off. But what we're going to discuss on this show, this first series, again, is going to be going through Candace Owens' book, Blackout. Let's talk a little bit about what happened in 2020. Sure, anyone listening to this, I hope, unless this is the far future and society has collapsed to nuclear mutants or something, you know, in 2020 there was this worldwide plague, and Candace Owens was incredibly angry that she could not go and do her planned book tour and speaking tour. You know, and the reason for that, of course, was nobody was meeting en masse anywhere. This is where she got her real big anger streak on, you know, lockdowns and vaccine mandates, and, well, less vaccine mandates at first because there wasn't a vaccine for quite a while. But she really got a hate boner, a lady hate boner, for, you know, just all the things that were going on at the time that were basically keeping her from her money. Because I looked up, you know, what someone like her charges, specifically herself. I had looked this up, you know, when I was like, what's she really missing out on here? You know, she's got regular appearances on Fox, and she's got her Shapiro crap and whatever. You know, what is she missing out on here? Honestly, what she missed out on was probably about $30 million. You know, if you dangled $30 million in front of anybody, and then you're like, yeah, Chief, you're not going to get that because you're not going to sell out a stadium that we can't even sell tickets for. Again, you know, I'm going to give her a little bit of the benefit of the doubt here, as much as I despise her. Missing out on 30 mil in 1 year, that would drive me up a wall too. Mm-hmm. Particularly if I was already, you know, waiting on that money, if I had done anything in that regard. Fortunately, I don't have access to those kind of funds, so I can't be that kind of crazy. You know, most people can't, but she, her tour was going to be, you know, 2020 was obviously an election year. She was going to be out there supporting Donald Trump and just everything, all the things that were supposed to keep her rising star rising throughout the Republican machine. We're going to keep going for her. And then, you know, COVID came along and it put everybody behind. Well, it takes a real fucking narcissist to look at a worldwide plague and go, yeah, but me. I'm rich already, but me. I need more of the rich. You know, and so I was like, well, what's her book about? I got it on a Google sale one day. I was like, what's her book about? And by the way, before we go on, let me say that Everything that I pull from here will be backed up by facts. On a monthly basis, we will have sources available on the website for this podcast so that you can look them up for yourselves and you can see them. You can see where I've done my research. And I have to tell you that I really do hate that people like Candace Owens can make statements in a book that are patently false, that don't hold up to even a simple Google search on a lot of occasions. And they just, and people just buy their shit. They just buy it. They just listen to it and they just accept it. Because she's what? She's a pretty face that says all the words that you want to hear. I mean, that might sell beer in commercials, but it shouldn't be a standard for truth. I mean, Stephen Hawking, I love the man, and in his last years, he was grotesquely deformed by his condition. But everything he said could be backed up, and people in his field did have problems with it. But they also wrote entire books on what their problems with it were. This is how educated people handle themselves. They don't go on a show and talk about how everyone that disagrees with them is a Nazi, when they themselves are in fact acting like Nazis. Excuse me. So, up to this point, let me ask you.
Matthew Anderson,
very good. Okay. So, Matty. Matrick. Ooh, no, that would be bad. That's such a bad. Now I've just gone and pissed off the Matrick segment of the audience. I've never heard that name in my life, but I would never, I would never foist it on anyone. So yeah, our microphone is playing games here. I'm gonna just do this little bit of magic.
There we go.
All right. Very good. Yeah. So let me ask you, prior to any of this, do you know anything about Candace Owens?
Completely honest, not really, no. I know she was Trump supporter, and she was a bit crazy for a little while there, and that was about it.
Oh, the crazy never stopped.
Oh.
The crazy train never stopped. In fact, my original idea for this podcast was to call it Gish Gallop Girl. Because she engages in a form of political commentary referred to as a Gish Gallop. Now, a Gish Gallop is what you see guys like Ben Shapiro do, and even Alex Jones, to some extent, is guilty of doing Gish Gallop to make their points. What they do is, a Gish Gallop is just a hard run of nonsense. The idea is, it goes back to an old statement of, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, then baffle them with bullshit.
Yeah. So
that is a Gish Gallop. A Gish Gallop is when someone talks a mile a minute. None of it's real. And you can't begin to refute all the lies, because the first lie, you're working on the first lie, and they are on lie number 400. And everything in between, these people, idiots who watch them think, oh, Ben Shapiro's great at debates. No, he's not. Most of what he ever said in his debates were just rambling bullshit talking points that don't match up to reality in any kind of way.
Like, for instance, going, lemon pie is good for you because it cures heart cancer, heart disease, kidney disease, lung cancer, lung pancreatitis cancer. Fuck.
Yeah, things like that. Things such as that, yeah.
Okay.
But saying it rapid fire. And in a way that it makes him look like he believes what he's saying. And that's the real thing. Again, stupid people watch people like Ben Shapiro go, and they're like, oh, he must know what he's talking about. And they never once look at his stuff. Alex Jones does that as well, and Knowledge Fight covers him well enough. And if you're listening to this and you've never heard Knowledge Fight, after the show, please look up that show. They are 700 plus episodes deep. And they are one of the driving forces behind why Alex Jones now owes $1.5 billion to Sandy Hook families. And that figure isn't done yet. There's two more lawsuits. But, again, let's get back to the subject here. So, Candace Owens, she writes this book, and I was reading it, and I came up with the concept for this show because I was like, I just started, and when I read something that I think is a lie or sounds like, it can't possibly be true, I go and I look it up. And in this regard, this book did not disappoint me one bit. Starting from the first page, Larry Elder writes the foreword. Now, do you know anything about Larry Elder?
Never heard of him till now.
Because I've raised you in a loving home. And we don't live in California. So Larry Elder was an attorney. He's written several books, and I'll probably dig my teeth into him at some point beyond this. Larry Elder is, a lot of people in the current neoconservative Nazi blogosphere credit Larry Elder with being their come up. Like, they'll credit guys like Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and other radio guys, and Larry Elder usually winds up in the mix somewhere if these people ever heard him. He ran syndicated radio broadcast shows like Limbaugh and Hannity and these other guys for a while. I think something like 20 years, off and on. He was an attorney. His law license was suspended in 2005 by the state of Ohio. Now, I don't know what you got to do to get your law license suspended by a state. Usually when lawyers lose their license, it's not clear, like, why it was suspended is, according to the little bit that I looked into, because I really don't care that much about the guy, but according to the little bit that I looked into, it's kind of under wraps. Now, the way the law licenses work is you can get disbarred by a state bar association. Like, if you go to get a license or if you want to practice law anywhere in the United States, you have to pass a state bar exam. Meaning, like, if you want to practice law in Hawaii, you have to go pass the state bar exam, which is administered by usually lawyers in the state. And lawyer associations can throw each other out for any reason out of the state bar. Usually it comes down to if an attorney has stolen client money. Or something like that. Then they can lose their law license. They can always appeal it, they can sue, but usually if an attorney loses their license, it's generally for very good reasons, because lawyers can go, no, we can prove that he did this. He needs to go. I don't know what it takes to get your law license suspended by a state authority, but he managed to do it. So I don't know if that was on his bucket list, but he managed to do it. So Larry Elder, though, what he's also done recently was back in 2021, I think, last year, so we're recording this in December 2022. There was a special election in California for the governor. The current governor at the time, his name was Gavin Newsom, and he is still the governor of California. He won the recall. Now, the way the recall works in California, anybody can put up a petition to recall any state official at any time. And if it gets enough support, they run a recall election. And that's what happened with Gavin Newsom. I don't remember why. I remember it sounded like he was being shady, and I was like, well, I don't live in California. I don't care. Well, Larry Elder gave everybody a reason to care, because he's been doing his radio shock jock thing mostly in California. He has a big audience of people. So he decided to run, and he was actually the top runner against the governor. He got something like 41% of the vote. Yeah, I mean, the governor didn't barely squeak by or anything, but Larry Elder was the top runner on that. And he had some state official had decided to deny his ballot entry because he didn't file his tax returns with the state board, which you have to do in California. If you want to run for an office like governor. And because he did not do that properly, He wound up suing the state board, and the judge made them put him back on the ballot because it wasn't a primary election. It wasn't a regular election. It was a special one. The special elections have special rules. Well, Larry Elder, the only benefit to that was while he was running for that office, he could not be on the radio. You can't have like a radio show or a TV show or media show at all. You can show up on shows, but you can't have a media presence if you're running for an office.
Yeah.
It's not just decorum, it's also the law in a lot of places. So that was the only benefit for him running, was that he couldn't have his voice out, mind warping people. But yeah, Larry Elder, according to Candace Owens, is a big, big, big influence in her world. He's a black conservative, radio guy, which puts him in a class of like maybe 2% of the world's population.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of them. But yeah, he, as I said though, he's written at least 4 books that I was able to find. And we may get into him at some point, because just the way that he wrote this foreword has put him in my literary crosshairs.
Yeah.
Like, I did not get 1 page deep in this book without having to go, hold up, wait a minute, let me look this up. And then that happened a lot through the foreword. Now, I don't know, have you ever in your life read a foreword to a book?
What is a foreword?
Foreword is usually, sometimes the author can write it where they describe what the book is going to be.
Okay.
Sometimes it's written by a friend of the author who says, my buddy wrote this and they say all this stuff and this is my experience with them and you should totes enjoy this book.
Yeah, I read, was one of Stephen King's books that had the foreword in it.
Yeah.
I just forgot what that was.
That's fine.
But,
Yeah, and sometimes there's an author's note at the front of a book. Usually a foreword is a few pages. It's like the opening act.
Yeah.
To get you interested in the book that you already presumably bought. Or maybe you're looking at it on a shelf and going, oh, well, I don't know much about Miss Owens, but I know a lot about Larry Elder and he says she's great. So I'm gonna buy this book. I'm gonna give her these $18 at this here Target.
Was it even sold at Target? I thought it was just like...
Oh, yeah, no, it was at Target.
Okay.
It was at Target. And the funny thing to me was, almost immediately from day one, they knew what they were up against. It wound up with a 30% off sticker immediately.
Jesus.
Yeah. They already knew this is going to be a tough sell. Because Target, unfortunately, has, and not anything they've done wrong, Target years ago became a source of Republican and Fox News. I'm going to throw Fox News under the bus for this one. Fox News outrage because Target said we're not going to gender our toy sections anymore for boys and girls. And, Fox News ginned up all this outrage that Target was promoting trans kids and shit like that. None of which was there. Target was just like, we're not going to hang signs that say boys and girls because girls can play with Legos and G.I. Joes and boys can play with Barbies and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. Let kids be kids and let them grow up and let them figure shit out. Well, never mind that you go to a Target and you're not going to see Barbie mixed in with G.I. Joe. You're going to see like a Barbie section next to Bratz and LOL Cuties and My Little Pony and whatever the hell else is typically marketed to girls. All the bright pink products are still on an aisle or two for girls. Well, maybe not for girls, but whatever. It's still there. You're still going to see mostly female children with their parents shopping those sections, or people going, oh, Luis is going to want this, and, Jacob is probably going to want those Hot Wheels over on the next aisle. You know, like, it is what it is. Let parents raise their damn kids. Well, anyway, so yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I guess Target knows that the people that they're stocking this book for are going to need an extra little push to buy it. I don't know what the retail copy of the book was. I know that I got it on a Google Play sale and it was like $3. Now, that all being said, let's talk real briefly here.
Mm-hmm.
I will be providing links to where anyone can buy the book on Google if they so choose. But if you have Apple Books or, Amazon Kindle, or you just have a local library, you could probably get this book for about the same price or cheaper. Mm-hmm. But since I don't really want Candace Owens to get any money, I'm going to say if you can get this through your local library, absolutely do that. For one thing, libraries could use the help. And two, there is an excellent app that I'll be providing links for that works. I know it works in Linux. I use Linux computers. It works in Linux, and it also works on Android phones. It's called Libby. If you have a library card, you get Libby, you put your library card into it, and if your library is like a major metropolitan library, it's connected to Libby probably. And if there's an ebook version of this, you can get it, and then it's up to you. Maybe you want to take screenshots of pages. Maybe that's a thing you might like to do, to get the book maybe for low cost, because presumably you pay for a cell phone plan. You pay for data. I mean, you do you, listener.
You pay for the library card.
You pay for the life of your phone. Mm-hmm. You're already paying all these things. I mean, but hey, you do you. Yeah. You do you, listener. I'm not gonna judge. I paid for this though. I paid for this pain because I wanted a copy that I could refer back to, because most books through the Libby service, to be upfront, and why you might want to learn how to do screenshots. Most books through the Libby service, at least in our area, carry a 3-week hold, or you can have them for up to 21 days. So if that's not quite long enough for you, just know that you have pathways. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this book. I've read through it once. I hate that in the course of doing this podcast, I'm going to have to read it presumably several more times, just so that I can have these episodes ready to go, and I can, consider, what's our running time right now? 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that I can effectively consider like what we're presenting, and is this really bullshit that I'm reading? I have to make sure that it's bullshit. It kills me because she could just write this crap and just put it out there for the world. And then the worst part of a book, right? The worst part of a book is that it's not just her blathering bullshit at a camera.
Yeah.
It is her probably sitting down with the ghostwriter. I can't prove that, so I won't say it's an absolute, but how most of these things work is they'll sit down with an interviewer, and they'll be recording them. And that's how they get the book written in the voice of whoever they're doing.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel real bad, somewhat, for the people that did the ghostwriting on Trump's books. Because they read exactly as if he's speaking them. It's eerie. It's like they got that perfect.
Like
and
they got the accents written down.
Oh my! You can hear it in the words on the paper. Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, the mispronunciations of things are obviously not there. They did clean up a bit, but yeah, it's like, oh Lord, oh God. But yeah, in her case, when I'm reading the pages written by her, and I've never heard Larry Elder's voice, I don't think. So I read him as I hear my own voice in my head. But for her, reading through her sections, I had to keep slowing down. Because you start reading and it's just that pace is just frenetic.
Yeah.
Even when she's talking about her actual life, it's fucking frenetic. And you're like, oh, wait, hold up. Slow down, back it up. What is this? Now, this all being said, Candace Owens does have a personal life. Larry Elder has a personal life as well. I'm not concerned with their personal lives. It's not my business necessarily who she's married to, what her child's name is. I think she's only got one kid right now from something I read. I'm not concerned with her personal world. She should have that. She should have her personal life, her private life. What I am concerned with specifically are lies that show up in print. So if she says something like, she grew up in Connecticut, I'm not going to bother to look that up. Mm-hmm. I don't care. She does say she grew up in Connecticut at one point.
Yeah.
And she goes into, what that was like and stuff. Okay. Your life experience is your life experience. Mm-hmm. If you tell me you bungee jumped off of the Sears Tower in Chicago, I'll take your word for it. Yeah. I don't care. But if you tell me that, you bungee jumped because 1 million young men cut off their penises last year, I'm going to have to go look up, I'm going to have to go look up, did 1 million young men cut off their penises last year? I don't care why you bungee jumped, pal. But now I have a fact I have to go look up. I have to go spend my time to go look at a thing that, given the speaker, probably didn't happen. Now that statement is an example. To my knowledge, she's never said that. Mm-hmm. But God help me if she ever does. I'm going to have to look that shit up. Now, this all being said, this first series, we're just going to be going through Blackout. We're going to devote, every single book will be its own series. We're going to go cover to cover, talking about every lie that's in here and the reason why the lies are what they are, and how they work, and why they're bad. Because it's not just one thing to say, like, this is a mistruth because of this reason. You usually have to provide context, and that's what I want to do here. So, it's been about 30 minutes. Let's get into the first one. Unless you have anything to add.
Not much, no.
Okay.
Go for it.
So, what I'm going to do here, to give these people the benefit of the doubt, is I'm going to read the exact sections of the book. Now, you're hearing it in my voice, of course. I'm not going to try to put on airs like for Candace Owens. I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to refrain from doing that because I very easily could speak at a frenetic pace and then twist up the audio and make it sound like it's someone mocking her. I'm not going to do that. It's not necessary to do that. Now, there will be times, though, like there is, God help me, there is a thing that Larry Elder talks about that I'm going to get to in the next couple of minutes here. Larry Elder talks about where Candace Owens went and spoke to a Senate committee on the alleged rise of white nationalism. Now, white nationalism, we know that's a thing. Mm-hmm. It's been on the rise. It's been on the rise for a long time. Mm-hmm. Probably outdating my life, and I'm 42 years old.
I always forget that you're 42.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Douglas Adams perfect right now. Life, the universe, and everything, motherfuckers. So I forget I'm 42 as well. Until I get weird pains, and I'm like, oh, right, age. Mm-hmm. Ugh. What did I do? Oh, yeah. When did I do that? Mm-hmm. That's your future. That's your fucking future. But, so what we deal with here, though, is okay, this is one of my favorite things, and the reason why I decided to do this. Mm-hmm. Larry Elder gives a very different version of events. Right here in the foreword, right at the fucking top. He gives a very different version of events than that entire thing turned out to be. Okay. Now look, I'm no big fan of the Democrat Party. Mm-hmm. They've made a lot of problems. Biden has actually been a pretty good president so far, and I have to give him credit for that. Yeah.
He's kept us out of wars.
Yeah. Got our guys home, mm-hmm. and is swiftly legalizing a mostly harmless drug. Mm-hmm. That's all good, as well as a lot of other good things that are actually going on in the Biden administration. I'm not going to give him any shit. There are Democrats that should have been out of office probably decades ago. Nancy Pelosi is among them. Mm-hmm. She's just, I think when you get to a certain age or you've been in office for long enough, you should just check out. Yeah. Here's the thing. If you're in the Senate or the Congress for long enough, you check out for any reason, You just leave. You're like, I'm done. I'm not going to run again. You get a pension equal to your salary until you're dead. Imagine working any job where you serve 4 years and you get 6 figures, and then you go, nah, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And you never have to work a day in your life again because that's your pension.
See, if ever I became a senator or whatnot, I'd do the 4 years and then go, nah, I'm done with this.
Yeah, you just coast.
I'm gonna go live up my life.
Yeah.
Y'all,
you just coast.
Ciao.
You just coast. But that's why most people can't do that, because that people get into those jobs, and especially the worst ones. The people like Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia, who got in as a QAnon supporter openly, and then when she got in, she very quickly tried to distance herself from the Q-pilled crowd, which QAnon Anonymous is another podcast that people should totally check out, especially if you want to know more about Marjorie Taylor Greene and her wackiness. But yeah, she so people like her, though, they get in and they're already crazy or stupid or some combination of both. And they realize how much power is in any one of those jobs. How much prestige is in it. And that's really what they're there for. That, and to gain more money. Like, you shouldn't be a multi-millionaire. I have a problem with anyone who's in Congress that has $100 million. No, you are... That level of money puts you so far away from the average person. I don't care if you grew up poor. You start making $1 million a year or more for any reason, you're out of touch with everybody you've ever known that isn't at your level or above. So yeah, I do have problems with the Democrat Party. They're not perfect, but man, it comes back to not all Republicans are Nazis, but all Nazis are Republicans. Yeah. I hate it. I don't like it. It shouldn't be a thing. We should have even discourse on both sides. And as far as my personal politics go, I am centered. I am not with either party. I am an independent. I vote on what and who I like, and I leave the rest to chance, because what am I going to do? Unless someone's clearly a Nazi, and then I'll come out against them. I did at the recent state fair that we had.
Oh, yeah.
I flipped off a, and let's not say where we are.
Yeah.
But I flipped off a governor candidate. He was the front runner for the Republicans, and I had read a little bit about him. He was an anti-vaxxer. He's a doctor, like an actual like let me check your blood pressure doctor. He's an anti-vaxxer, anti-mask, COVID denier, who also wanted to delegalize the weed that had become legal. Yeah. Just a real piece of work. Real piece of work. I flipped him off at the state fair. Right in person, 20 feet away. Felt great. Felt awesome. But let's dive into the book. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so from the top, from the foreword. At a recent congressional hearing on the alleged rise of white nationalism, Candace Owens said the following. I am hopeful that we will come to a point where we will actually have hearings about things that matter in America, things that are a threat to America, like illegal immigration, which is a threat to Black America, like socialism, which is a threat to every single American, and I hope that we see that day. It's definitely not going to be today. Fortunately, we have Republicans that are fighting every single day, day in and day out. For all of the Democrat colleagues that are hoping that this is going to work and that we're going to have a fearful Black America at the polls, if you're paying attention to this stuff that I'm paying attention to, the conversation is cracking. People are getting tired of this rhetoric. We're being told by you guys to hate people based on the color of their skin or to be fearful. We want results. We want policies. We're tired of rhetoric, and the numbers show that white supremacy and white nationalism is not a problem that is harming Black America. Let's start talking about putting fathers back in the home. Let's start talking about God and religion and shrinking government, because government has destroyed Black American homes, and every single one of you know that. And I think many people should feel ashamed for what we have done and what Congress has turned into. It's days of our lives in here, and it's embarrassing. Mic drop. Incandescent. Bright. Most of all, Owens is courageous. These are just some of the adjectives that describe this young, charismatic female who happens to be Black and who happens to challenge the notion that Blacks should retain their near monolithic support for the Democrat Party. Now, therein lies the first set of lies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first lie here is not that Candace Owens said any of that.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is absolutely true, and it's in the transcript, which I will link to in the sources. So let's talk a little bit about this congressional hearing. It absolutely did happen. It was an even mix of Republicans and Democrats that were sitting on a panel that called experts. The idea was that they were going to call forth experts on the rise of white nationalism in America. The Democrats, again, not a Democrat, but that's the last time I'm going to say that, they brought 3 actual experts to speak. People who, speeches I read, or I'll make available, but people who talked at length with their experience as doctors and sociologists who spoke about what they saw happening in America. They gave truthful, honest speeches, and they sat for questions later. What they did was everyone gave a speech, including Candace Owens, and her speech is actually much longer. But everybody gave a speech.
Yeah.
And they gave their opinion on the topic at hand. They broke for a recess, and then they came back and everybody answered questions. Now, again, the Democrats got 3 actual experts, PhDs who had spent 20 plus years each in the field of social research.
Yeah.
The Republicans got Candace Owens.
That doesn't that doesn't bode too well.
Yeah, it doesn't. No.
No.
Candace Owens, who at this point, early 20s, no real educational history on this, nothing to back her up. She was brought in by Ted Cruz and a couple other Republicans to basically make a mockery of the whole thing. Now, that would have been pretty bad, except that the Democrats that were there actually called her ass out in a way that I found entertaining when I watched it, because they actually played a clip of her defending Hitler. They played a clip of her defending Hitler on a talk show. And the Democrat who was asking her the questions is a guy named Ted Lieu, and we'll get into that later. But Ted Lieu from California, he's an Asian American. He with a straight face was just like, "Can you please explain this?" And she lost her shit. She kept it civil, but she lost her shit when that happened. Now, like I said, the first lie in here is in this first page, which I read from. The lie that Larry Elder seems to be really good at. I'll give him credit for it, respect to game player. The lie that he seems to be really good at from the top is a lie of omission. Because he gives these, and it's in italics if anybody bothers to read it, but he gives these few paragraphs from the speech.
Yeah.
The speech was a lot longer than that. There was parts of it before that and parts of it after it.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it was the publisher. Maybe they were like, we shouldn't include the entire transcript. Maybe they just let him go, because the publisher of this book, Simon & Schuster, has published a lot of Republican shitbag books.
Yeah.
This is kind of what they do. Now, anybody who might have heard that this book was a bestseller, there's always a chance that anybody with a name writes a book and it becomes a bestseller.
Yeah.
That's always a possibility, and I won't deny that. But the way that a lot of these things become bestsellers in the pre-order stage, and the reason why you'll see, like, you could probably mark any one of these books I don't recommend destroying public property, but if anyone's interested, you could probably, put a bookmark. Let's say a bookmark, right? That's not destruction of public property. You could even maybe advertise your business. You do you.
Yeah.
But put a bookmark in one of these average books that you don't think anybody's going to buy because it's from a political shitbag that you don't like. Hey, maybe you like Candace Owens. I don't know. If you're listening to this, you probably don't. I think this show's going to attract a certain type of audience. But, you put a bookmark in. Come back and check on it in a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. If the book that you marked is gone, maybe it got sold.
Yeah.
It probably didn't, though. One of the other games you can play with retail employees when they're bored is, and I say this from a retail perspective, is you can actually have them just scan something in a lot of cases, like if you're at a Target or a Walmart, maybe even a Barnes & Noble. You can have them scan anything and ask them, hey, can you tell me how many copies of this you've sold in the last week or month or whatever? Just tell them, I don't need paperwork. I just want to know a number.
Yeah.
And see how low that number is. Especially if something's supposed to be a hot bestseller and you live in a major metropolitan area. Have fun with it. Just ask them for the data. Sometimes they may even be interested themselves. Like, I don't know, how many of these have we sold? They've been here for a while.
Yeah.
And they'll scan the barcode and expect a chuckle. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we've never sold one. Or we've sold 2 in 6 months, That kind of thing. Retail employees have that kind of data at hand.
Yeah.
I don't know why. There's really no use for it, but they have it. They can do it. If they're not busy, they may even indulge you in conversation. But
it's probably for higher ups to see how much.
Oh, it's always for higher ups. Yeah. Data is never for the rank and file, but they have access to it, which is wonderful. But so Larry. Oh, really? That was something else. We're not going to worry about that. So Larry Elder commits the lie of omission here. And again, the lie of omission is, what am I leaving out? Or what can I leave out to make my point? Mm-hmm. I would bet that he did this as an attorney.
Yeah.
If you're defending somebody, there are rules for being an attorney. Like, there's certain things, like you can't just tell a jury, like, I know my client is innocent because whatever.
Yeah.
You can't say stuff like that.
There's this attorney I watch. He goes through and breaks down different things in TV shows and movies and such, when they're at the court.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he says is in just about everything, you can't address the jury directly.
No, you cannot. Yeah, most of the time you can't. And that's something that they actually discuss on another podcast on a regular basis called Opening Arguments. On Opening Arguments, they actually have a separate set of their shows called Laud Awful Movies, where they do a shtick similar to God Awful Movies. God Awful Movies watches Christian-themed movies and then breaks down all the garbage. Mm-hmm. Laud Awful Movies is Andrew Torres and his co-host on Opening Arguments. They break down movies that are like supposed to be legal thrillers.
Yeah.
The first one they did was The Firm.
I don't think I've...
Because I care about you. That's why you've never seen it.
Oh, wait, no, I have.
I'm sorry.
Through YouTube Shorts, I've seen, clips of it.
Okay, then you haven't seen the movie.
No, I haven't sat down to watch it.
It is 3 hours long.
I'm not going to be sitting down to watch it.
The book is huge. I read the book first. Because I was like, oh, there's a movie coming out with Tom Cruise. And my parents growing up... Oh, God. Okay, so my parents growing up went to this cult that... I've never talked about this with you, but we're going to talk about it now.
Okay.
They went to this cult where they were told by the preacher. Okay, here's the background on this. The preacher did not like going to movie theaters. Just did not like it. Did not trust movie theaters. Was probably felt very vindicated when people, when the Batman killer went in and shot up that movie theater in Aurora, Colorado during The Dark Knight Rises. That happened.
Did?
I don't know. Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, bad deal. His name was James, I think James Holmes or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's an asshole. He actually lived. He's in the court system now.
Oh.
But, yeah. Sometimes they don't kill themselves, or at least he didn't pull it off anyway. He did kill a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Very sad. But she would always say things like, you can't go to theaters because when you go to a movie theater, and I warned you not to, then you are telling Jesus to hang out outside the theater while you go watch your show. And anything that happens to you in there, that is your fault. When people became members of this church, they actually had to sign a paper that, among other things, said, me and my family will not go to movie theaters. It was something everyone had to agree to. Now, imagine you're a kid, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And movies come out. You know what it's like to be a child.
Yeah.
Up until this comes out, you've been one.
Yeah.
So, now, we have all these streaming services.
Yeah.
I've taught you guys how to get stuff if you really want it now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not legally. Maybe. Who knows? Laws are different all over the world.
Yeah.
But if there's a movie that's hot enough and I'm like, all right, we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Like recently we saw Clerks 3.
Yeah.
I was like, we're going. Kevin Smith's getting his money.
Mm-hmm.
So, we went, and I'm glad for it.
Yeah.
It was a good end to the series, but...
Made me cry.
Yeah, made everybody cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. That movie's 90 minutes of crying.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking... Oh, man, even now. But that was like weeks ago, but even now I'm like I can't think about that movie without going, damn it, Kevin.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, listener, watch all the Clerks films. But, so, but yeah, if anything was hot,
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Now, there was an end result of this. The end result of this was that my parents, who were movie fiends for whatever reason, decided to learn how to steal DirecTV satellite access when I was a child. And I was a smart kid, so I got brought in.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned how to do that. I learned how to set things up for people. I also learned how to screw up the whole system, which I did when they left the cult.
Huh.
I screwed up for everybody. 50 families got hit with bills that were astronomical from DirecTV, and I'm glad that I had a part of that. But so a lot of awful movies that go after things like The Firm. The Firm I saw as a kid when it came out on video because of this stupid church, but I read the book because I was like, oh well, I like Tom Cruise. I'm gonna read this book. I like books.
Mm-hmm.
The book is very well written. The movie is very well acted and well shot.
Didn't hear that either of them were good, though.
That is true.
Mm.
That is absolutely true. It's not great. It's not great from a legal standpoint.
Yeah.
If you watch it and you know nothing about how the court system or law firms work or anything like that, It's very compelling.
Yeah.
I liked it as a child. As an adult, and I learned how lawyers and shit work, it became less believable.
Yeah.
Then when Andrew Torres broke it down, it was far less believable. I could believe that someone like Larry Elder would watch The Firm and think, oh, I could be a lawyer, and then went and got his law degree, and then got, pushed out in 2005 by the state of Ohio.
For whatever reason.
Knowing that fact, I'm never going to let it go. But, so what he commits here, again, is coming back around to it. He commits the crime of omission. Where are we at on time?
52.
Okay, that's not bad. So he commits the crime of omission.
Yeah.
And what he's omitting here is, like I said, it's the rest of her speech, but it's also calling her things such as courageous.
Yeah.
This is whatever. I mean, look, it's not courageous to speak your mind in America. It really isn't. We're allowed to do that. Can people come after you? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But the government can't stop you. And she was called in by the government to tell them her opinion on things.
Yeah.
That's not courage. That's actually just showing up and saying whatever's on your mind, which I believe is what she did. Because what we will do on this show is I will pull it up. It's on YouTube. It's on C-SPAN's YouTube channel. You can pull up the whole thing. And I will do that. in the next episode because people need to hear exactly what she said.
Yeah.
I think in terms of context.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be presented.
Yeah.
Because I think if people hear it in her voice, which again is coming from a public source that I will link to, no problem with any of that. Because once you hear what she actually says, and later on, her defense of Hitler is just mind-blowingly bad.
Yeah.
You realize that this woman is not, she's not courageous necessarily. She's not smart particularly. Most of her opinions, I would say, are opinions that I shared when I was a child in a cult.
Yeah.
Because I had a very limited understanding of how the world worked.
Yeah.
But what helped break me out of that was having the internet at my disposal and a Sega Saturn that had a modem on it, which I was able to use to chat with people. I had a bunch of friends in Denmark, for fuck's sake, that spoke, or at least wrote perfect English. They would be speaking their Danish language, which I can't do. I do know some Norwegian listeners, but I do not know a word of Danish. I'm aware they're related. Shut up. Yes, it's a little hostility that I have. But they would, they'd be speaking, they'd switch over as soon as I got in there. But, I was able to talk with actual adults in foreign lands where socialism was working. Mm-hmm. This thing that I've been told was the ultimate evil that leads to communism and shit was working just fine. And they were not under authoritarian governments.
Yeah.
So all of my books, all of my just Republican-centered education was so fucking wrong.
Yeah.
And the fact that everything was so easy to learn, that you just spit out the same facts for 4 straight years and get out with a diploma. I learned nothing in high school. I learned a lot of stuff as secondary stuff that I studied on my own while I was in school because I was bored, because the shit that I learned as an 8th grader carried me straight through the 12th grade in that school. It wasn't until I got out into early college classes and I got on the internet and stuff that I was able to actually talk with people and engage with people. And, a lot of the people that I met online initially, they were nice enough to me that I didn't feel like I was being attacked when I was talking with them. But, I would say some sort of bullshit thing like, oh, well, like Italy is socialist. And they'd say, where are you getting that from?
Yeah.
And I would describe it and they would go, okay, can you provide me your source? And I'd give them the source. I'd pull it up in like my textbook or something I'd have right there. And I'd go and look for the source, and then we would look it up together, and they would go, actually, kid, you're wrong, and here's why.
Yeah.
So a lot of very smart people helped me out at a very young age to go, okay, this is bullshit, that's bullshit. But there was always things like I read Mein Kampf in school.
Yeah.
It wasn't provided me by the school, listeners. I read that on my own separately. Not for any great reason. We're Jews. Hello.
Yeah.
So yeah,
rip that band.
I am very aware. I am very aware that there are that there are anti-Jewish Jews. We're not them. We're also not practicing. So happy. Just
wow. God damn. Those notifications.
Okay, let me see about a thing here. See if I can do this. Hopefully it doesn't kill the show. Okay, great. Cool. I just went into airplane mode on my recording device there. I'm sorry for all that. That was notifications on my phone blowing up. We're recording this on a cell phone right now because...
my microphone is acting weird right now.
Yeah. So we're recording this pilot episode on a phone. Which I'm going to say it again, Linux saves the day. But, yeah. It kills me that you still have a Windows computer.
It works for what I need it to work for.
I hope so, because, man, I can't.
It's been working out.
Yeah, I got a Windows 11 computer recently, listeners, and I didn't pay for it, thank goodness. But I tried to turn it into a Linux machine, as I do with any computer that winds up in my hands. And it would not take If you're looking to not buy a computer at any point in your life, HP Envy is the brand you should not buy. Unless you want a basic bitch Windows machine that costs way too much money. Is it nice, though?
Yes, it's brilliant. It runs smoothly. It does everything smoothly. I can run some of the higher-end games on it.
Okay, well,
No
there's
issues.
your endorsement, I guess.
Yeah.
I would never say all those words. Not once.
It does have the occasional hiccup, but, it's nothing that a good old threat to the motherboard doesn't fix.
Yeah. It kills me because it's a really nice looking system.
What I find funny is whenever I hand it over to you, it has a seizure and a stroke and doesn't want to work.
I believe
But
that.
when you pass it back over to me, it's like, oh, we're running hunky-dory.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Because it knows I hate it.
Yeah. It feels your hate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I absolutely hate touching Microsoft Windows. I just... Oh, God. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. So bad. Yeah. So I'm a Linux nerd, listeners, but Android is not Linux. For any of you that are about to tell me that shit, Android is not Linux. It is based on it. There's a big difference. But getting back around to what we're going to cover in the next episode, I'm going to play the actual video of her speech. As much as I don't want to hear her voice, we're going to do that for the sake of context. So that's something to tune in for the next one. There will be a website for this show. We're going to do several of these episodes and have them in the tank ready to go, and then we're going to kick them out every, I don't know. We'll figure out a release schedule, but it'll be every week after that. So, yeah. So for the pilot episode, we've established what we're doing here, mostly who we are. We are going to keep this as underground as possible because we don't want to be harassed. And we would like to live our lives free of crazy Candace Owens fans in this case, or in the future, crazy Larry Elder fans, or
Whomever we end up covering.
Yeah.
It would be nice to not be harassed.
Yeah, it would be. It would be great to not be harassed for that. I mean, God, like we moved to a very tolerant area of the country, which is awesome. But I would like to live my life not harassed. So that all being said, there will be an email and a website and all that, and more of that will come up over time as I get it set up. But for right now, this is a wrap on the pilot episode. If you have any questions, you can direct them to the website when that shit goes live. Thank you very much and have a great day. You want to add anything?
Not much, really. No, I can't think of anything.
That's a good way to end it. All right.